Welcome to Stoic Wisdom, where the ancient teachings of Stoicism meet the challenges of modern life. Have you ever felt your anger or frustration boil over, leaving you feeling powerless? What if you could control those emotions even in the heat of the moment? In this video, we'll uncover timeless Stoic principles that not only help you conquer anger, but also empower you to face life's challenges with calm and clarity. Imagine navigating the ups and downs of life with a sense of inner peace that no one can disturb. Stoicism teaches us that while we can't control what happens to us, we can master how we respond. This video will show you how to tap into that inner strength and unlock the secret to emotional freedom. Stick with us and learn how to transform your life with the wisdom of the Stoics. Let's get started. Why you get angry more than you think. We all like to believe that we are in control of our emotions, especially anger. After all, it's a natural response, right? But here's the thing, it might not be as natural as you think. Often we react in anger because of things outside our control. What others say, what they do, or the situations we find ourselves in. We believe that external events trigger our anger, but the truth is that it's how we interpret those events that causes us to get upset. Have you ever thought about why someone's careless comment or a minor inconvenience can send you into a fit of rage? It's not the comment or the event itself that ignites the anger. It's how you perceive it. Anger arises when we feel attacked, disrespected, or misunderstood. But the real question is, why do we let these things control us? Why do we give up our peace so easily, allowing others to dictate how we feel? The reality is that anger isn't a simple emotion. It's a response, a reaction to what we think is an affront to our dignity, our beliefs, or our self-worth. But is that reaction truly necessary? Can we exist in a world filled with these challenges without constantly falling into the trap of anger? To master our emotions, we must first accept that it's not the external world that causes our anger, but the internal story we create about the world. The key is not in controlling the world around us, but in mastering how we respond to it. This is the foundation of Stoicism. The Stoics knew that we cannot control other people's actions, but we can control how we choose to react. The first step to overcoming anger is realizing that we don't need to react at all. We can choose peace instead. When we understand that our thoughts create our emotions, we begin to shift our approach. Instead of blaming others for our anger, we take responsibility for how we perceive the situation. It's not easy and it won't happen overnight, but the practice of self-awareness and self-control can help you regain control over your emotional responses. It's a journey of understanding that we and only we have the power to shape our emotional world. The more we practice this, the more we become the masters of our emotions, not the slaves of them. The key to peace: stop resisting life. Life is constantly changing, and the more we resist, the more we create inner turmoil. We often find ourselves battling the inevitable traffic, bad weather, unexpected setbacks, and sometimes even people. We want things to go the way we expect, but the truth is life doesn't always bend to our will. In fact, it rarely does. This resistance to what is this constant pushing against reality is one of the main causes of emotional unrest. The more we fight against the flow of life, the more we wear ourselves down and lose our peace of mind. But there is a way out. The Stoics taught that peace doesn't come from controlling everything around us. It comes from accepting what is and choosing how we respond to it. When we stop fighting against life, we free ourselves from the grip of frustration, anger, and anxiety. It's not about passivity or giving up on change. Rather, it's about releasing the struggle. Instead of resisting what is happening, we can focus on what we can control: our thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Take a moment to reflect. How often do you find yourself upset because things didn't go the way you planned? How often do you resist a situation trying to force it to change, only to end up feeling exhausted and frustrated? This is where the key to peace lies. The more we stop resisting, the more energy we have to focus on what truly matters: our internal world, our personal growth, and the way we navigate challenges. To embrace this mindset, we must first learn to accept life as it is, not as we wish it to be. When we accept the present moment with all its imperfections, we allow ourselves to find peace within it. This doesn't mean we stop striving for improvement or growth. It simply means that we stop battling against things we cannot control. Once we stop resisting life, we start living it fully with less stress and more tranquility. Judging others, the biggest emotional trap. We all judge others whether we admit it or not. It's human nature to form opinions about the people around us based on their actions, their words, or even their appearance. But have you ever stopped to consider how these judgments affect your own emotional well-being? Every time we judge someone, we give away a piece of our inner peace. Think about it. When you label someone as stupid, rude, or selfish, what happens inside you? The moment we assign a judgment, we are allowing that person's behavior to disturb our emotional state. The Stoics understood this very well. They taught that judgment is a heavy burden, one that only weighs us down and distracts us from our own peace. The truth is, no one is entirely good or bad. Every person is a mixture of virtues and flaws shaped by their environment, upbringing, and experiences. When we judge others, we are making assumptions about their entire being based on a small fraction of their lives, which we may not even fully understand. But why should we let these assumptions affect how we feel? Instead of labeling people, the Stoics encouraged us to see others for what they truly are, complex human beings just like ourselves. This doesn't mean we should ignore bad behavior or let people treat us poorly. It simply means we don't have to let others' actions define our emotional state. By refraining from judgment, we free ourselves from unnecessary anger and frustration. When we stop judging, we also open ourselves to greater empathy. We begin to see that everyone is fighting their own battles, facing struggles we may never know about. A person who seems rude might be dealing with personal pain. A colleague who always appears late may be juggling family issues. These are the things we often overlook when we make quick judgments. When we choose to withhold judgment, we allow space for compassion, understanding, and a deeper connection with others. The next time you catch yourself judging someone, pause and ask yourself, is this judgment truly necessary? What do I really know about this person? By questioning our judgments, we give ourselves the chance to release the negative emotions that come with them. Over time, this practice will not only help us maintain our inner peace, but it will also encourage a more compassionate and understanding approach to others. When you let go of control, you find freedom. One of the most difficult things to accept in life is that we cannot control everything. The desire to control is deeply ingrained in human nature. We want to control our circumstances, our relationships, and sometimes even the way others think and behave. But the more we try to control everything, the more we become enslaved by it. We find ourselves constantly battling against the flow of life, which only leads to frustration, stress, and exhaustion. The reality is, there are many things beyond our control, and fighting against them only drains us of our peace. This is where the philosophy of Stoicism offers a profound lesson. The Stoics taught that true freedom comes not from controlling everything around us, but from controlling how we respond to the things that are beyond our control. We cannot stop people from acting in ways we don't like, nor can we always prevent bad things from happening. However, we can control our reactions to these events. We can choose how to respond, how to think, and how to feel. This is the essence of freedom. Having the power to choose your reaction even when the external world is chaotic. Think about how often we get frustrated by things that are out of our control. The weather ruins our plans, someone cuts us off in traffic, or a project doesn't go the way we intended. All of these situations can trigger anger, disappointment, or anxiety. But when we realize that these things are beyond our control, we can begin to let go of the need to fight against them. Instead of resisting what is happening, we can choose to accept it, adjust our mindset, and move forward with a sense of calm. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It means recognizing that there are limits to what we can influence and focusing our energy on what we can change. We have the power to control our thoughts, our attitudes, and our actions. This shift in perspective brings immense freedom. It frees us from the chains of stress and frustration and opens up space for peace and clarity. Once we accept the limitations of control, we become less burdened by external events. We stop letting other people's actions or the unpredictability of life dictate our emotional state. This is how we begin to live with more peace, more resilience, and more freedom. The world isn't perfect, and neither are you. We often have an idealized vision of how things should be, but life rarely matches those expectations. We expect perfection from ourselves and others, yet we are all flawed in different ways. This desire for perfection creates a constant source of frustration, disappointment, and anger. The truth is, people, and even ourselves, are far from perfect, and the pursuit of perfection can often become a trap that leads to endless dissatisfaction. The Stoics believed that accepting imperfection was key to inner peace. Rather than seeking a flawless world, they encouraged embracing the reality of imperfection. When we accept that everything, ourselves included, has its flaws, we can free ourselves from the constant pressure to be perfect or to have everything perfect. This doesn't mean we stop striving to improve. It means we stop demanding unrealistic standards from ourselves and others. Imagine for a moment preparing for an important presentation. You've spent hours perfecting your slides, rehearsing your speech, and anticipating every possible question. But then at the last minute, your colleague messes up their part. It's easy to feel frustrated to think that their mistake ruined everything. But here's the truth. Their mistake does not define the success or failure of the presentation. What matters is how you respond. Do you let their imperfection dictate your emotions, or do you accept it as part of the imperfect reality we all live in? By letting go of the need for perfection, we gain freedom. We can stop worrying about every little flaw and focus on what truly matters: progress, growth, and learning. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, we begin to see them as opportunities for growth. Every imperfection is a chance to practice patience, understanding, and resilience. Perfection is an illusion. Once we accept this truth, we stop holding ourselves and others up to impossible standards. We embrace the imperfections of life and find peace in the acceptance of what is. It is only then that we can truly experience the freedom of living without the burden of perfection. No one can make you angry unless you allow it. Anger is often seen as a reaction to something or someone outside of us. Someone cuts in line, a colleague criticizes our work, or a friend lets us down. In these moments, it's easy to feel justified in our anger, to believe that the external situation is the cause. However, the Stoics taught us an important truth: anger doesn't come from external events. It comes from our own judgments about those events. When someone wrongs us, we have a choice. We can choose to respond with anger, allowing that person's actions to disturb our inner peace, or we can choose to pause, reflect, and decide how we want to respond. The moment we let our emotions run unchecked, we give away our power. The key to mastering anger lies in recognizing that we control how we interpret and respond to the world around us. This doesn't mean that we should ignore or suppress our emotions. On the contrary, acknowledging and understanding our anger is essential. But the key is to separate the feeling of anger from the automatic response to act on it. When we are able to take a step back, we can choose to respond in a way that aligns with our values and preserves our peace of mind. Anger often arises when we feel violated, disrespected, or misunderstood. These are all valid feelings. But instead of letting these feelings dictate our actions, we can ask ourselves, what can I control here? The only thing we can truly control is our own response. By shifting our focus from the external situation to our internal response, we regain control over our emotional state. The next time you feel anger rising within you, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this anger helping me? Is it worth giving away my peace? With practice, you'll find that you have the power to choose calmness, to let go of anger, and to live with greater emotional freedom. The power of those who don't react. In a world full of reactions and impulses, there is immense power in non-reaction. It may seem counterintuitive. How can we be strong if we don't respond to everything that happens around us? Yet this is exactly what the Stoics taught. True strength lies in the ability to choose when and how to respond, and just as importantly, when not to respond at all. Every day we encounter situations that can trigger a reaction. Someone cuts us off in traffic, a colleague makes a sarcastic comment, or a friend cancels plans at the last minute. These external events might seem like reasonable causes for irritation or anger. But when we react impulsively, we lose our inner peace. In fact, reacting too quickly can often make the situation worse, fueling the negative emotions instead of diffusing them. The Stoics understood that our reactions are not automatic, they are choices. By pausing before we react, we gain the power to control our emotions rather than letting them control us. This doesn't mean suppressing or ignoring our feelings, but rather creating space between the stimulus and our response. In that space, we have the freedom to decide how we will respond, calmly, thoughtfully, and in alignment with our values. The true power of non-reaction lies in its ability to preserve our peace and dignity. When we choose not to engage with negativity, we refuse to let it disturb our inner world. In this way, we maintain control over our emotional state rather than giving that control to others or to external events. It is a practice of restraint and mindfulness, one that allows us to navigate life with composure and grace. Non-reaction is not about being passive or indifferent. It's about being selective with our energy and attention. It is about choosing to engage with the things that truly matter and letting go of the trivial distractions that can drain our emotional resources. When we master the art of non-reaction, we gain the ability to stay grounded and resilient no matter what life throws our way. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. Forgiveness is often seen as something we do for others, but in reality, it's a gift we give ourselves. Holding on to anger or resentment only harms us. It keeps us emotionally tied to the past, preventing us from moving forward. When we refuse to forgive, we allow the actions of others to continue controlling our emotions, even though they may no longer be a part of our lives. Forgiveness isn't about excusing bad behavior or letting someone off the hook. It's about releasing the negative hold that anger has over us. The Stoics understood this well. They taught that forgiving others is not just a virtue, but a practical step toward inner peace. When we forgive, we free ourselves from the emotional weight of the offense. We stop letting the wrongs of others define our present and future. The Stoics believed that holding on to anger and resentment only feeds our suffering, while forgiveness liberates us from that burden. Forgiveness doesn't mean we forget or condone the wrongdoing. It means we choose to let go of the emotional chains that bind us to it. By forgiving, we reclaim our power. We take control over our emotions rather than allowing them to control us. This act of letting go is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of strength. It requires courage to release the anger and bitterness that we may have been holding on to for so long. When we forgive, we heal. It allows us to move forward with peace, to stop being victims of our past, and to create space for growth and happiness. The next time you feel anger or resentment towards someone, ask yourself, am I willing to free myself from this burden? By choosing forgiveness, we choose peace. Don't just live with purpose and values. Living a life without purpose is like drifting in the wind. We go through the motions, reacting to whatever comes our way without a clear direction. But when we live with purpose, we have something greater to strive for. A life of purpose is a life with meaning, a life that aligns with our values and reflects who we truly are. The Stoics believed that living in alignment with our values was one of the keys to a fulfilling life. They taught that it wasn't enough to just exist. We must live with intention, guided by principles that resonate with our deepest beliefs. This is what gives our lives meaning. Purpose provides a sense of direction and fulfillment, and it allows us to navigate the inevitable challenges of life with clarity and strength. To live with purpose, we must first identify what truly matters to us. What values do we hold dear? What kind of person do we want to be? It's easy to get caught up in the rush of daily life, but taking time to reflect on our purpose helps us stay grounded. When we live according to our values, we make decisions that reflect who we are at our core. We stop living according to external expectations and start living in a way that is true to ourselves. Living with purpose also gives us resilience. When we face adversity, it's our purpose that keeps us going. We may encounter setbacks, but if we are clear about our values and our goals, we can find the strength to keep moving forward. Purpose fuels us when life feels overwhelming and helps us maintain our focus even in difficult times. Think clearly to make the right decisions, even when emotions rise. Our emotions are powerful forces that can cloud our judgment. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to make decisions based on impulse rather than reason. However, the ability to think clearly and make decisions based on logic rather than emotional reaction is a key skill in leading a peaceful and successful life. The Stoics believe that our emotions, while natural, should not dictate our actions. Instead, we must learn to step back, assess the situation, and make choices with clarity and calmness. When emotions rise, especially in stressful situations, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But the Stoics taught us that it's precisely in those moments of heightened emotion that we must exercise our greatest self-control. Instead of reacting impulsively, we should pause, take a deep breath, and give ourselves time to think. By doing so, we regain control over our emotions and avoid making decisions we might regret later. Clear thinking allows us to see the situation objectively. When we are not ruled by our emotions, we can weigh the pros and cons, consider the long-term consequences, and make choices that align with our values. This is not to say that we should suppress our emotions or deny how we feel. Rather, we should acknowledge our emotions but not let them take the lead in guiding our actions. By developing the ability to think clearly, we become more decisive, more effective, and more at peace with the choices we make. We also become less vulnerable to external influences that might try to sway our decisions. In the end, the key to making the right decisions is the ability to rise above the noise of our emotions and choose what is best for us and those around us. Master your inner self, the power no one can take away. True freedom doesn't come from external circumstances or achievements. It comes from mastering ourselves, the ability to control our thoughts, emotions, and reactions, regardless of what happens in the world around us. The Stoics understood this power. They believed that the only thing we can truly control in life is ourselves. While we cannot dictate what happens to us or how others behave, we have full control over how we choose to respond. Mastering our inner self is the key to finding lasting peace and happiness. When we become the master of our thoughts and emotions, we stop being at the mercy of external events. We no longer let outside circumstances define how we feel or behave. Instead, we choose to stay calm, rational, and grounded no matter what life throws our way. This kind of inner mastery is what gives us strength in difficult times, and it allows us to remain steady in the face of challenges. Self-mastery requires self-awareness. We must first understand our own triggers, weaknesses, and patterns of behavior. Once we have this awareness, we can begin to consciously choose how to respond to situations. This is not about suppressing our emotions or denying our feelings, but about taking control of them. When we experience anger, frustration, or fear, we can pause, observe those emotions without judgment, and decide how we want to act in that moment. The power of mastering our inner self is that it gives us the freedom to live life on our own terms. We are no longer slaves to our impulses or emotions. Instead, we choose to act in ways that align with our values, our goals, and our long-term vision. This inner strength allows us to navigate life with confidence, resilience, and clarity. Master yourself, and you will master your life. The key to living a fulfilling and meaningful life lies not in external achievements, but in mastering ourselves. The Stoics taught that true freedom and peace come from within, and it's only by gaining control over our thoughts, emotions, and actions that we can truly navigate life with confidence and purpose. Self-mastery is not about perfection, but about consistency in making choices that align with our values regardless of the circumstances around us. When we master ourselves, we stop being victims of our impulses. We are no longer at the mercy of fleeting emotions or external forces. Instead, we are guided by a deep sense of purpose and clarity. This inner strength enables us to stay grounded in the face of adversity, to remain calm in moments of stress, and to make decisions that reflect our true selves. The journey to self-mastery is not a one-time achievement. It is a lifelong practice. Every day presents us with new opportunities to exercise control over our responses. Whether it's how we deal with frustration, how we respond to criticism, or how we manage our time and energy, each choice is a chance to strengthen our self-discipline. With each step we take toward mastering ourselves, we move closer to living a life that is aligned with our highest aspirations. Ultimately, mastering yourself is the most empowering thing you can do. It means that no matter what challenges life presents, you have the strength and clarity to overcome them. When you are the master of your mind and emotions, no external event can disturb your peace. This is the essence of living freely, being in charge of your own life regardless of the circumstances. In the end, mastering yourself is the key to living a life of purpose, peace, and resilience. By controlling your thoughts, emotions, and reactions, you free yourself from external chaos and gain the strength to face any challenge. Remember, true power comes from within. When you master yourself, you can master your life.